He's gonna find out soon. These are the words Canelo Alvarez sent out as a declaration of war against Jermell Charlo, one undisputed boxer up against another. Alvarez versus Charlo is set to go off on September 30th, and we don't think the world is ready to witness this historic match. This is the first time in history two undefeated male boxers are going up against each other. A lot is at stake for both fighters, with Jermell Charlo having moved up two weight classes to face Canelo, who remains absolutely determined to maintain his dominance in the sport. Both fighters have been hard at work pushing themselves to train as best as they can for this biblical showdown. Canelo Alvarez's chance to double down. When Canelo lost his light middleweight bout against Floyd Mayweather Jr. on the 14th of September 2013, it was seen as predictable by many. However, what they failed to predict was for the man to hold up as well as he did. Looking back at this defeat, it's said to be his most important fight, as the lessons he took from it set him on the path to becoming the beast he is. Ever since then, he learned to get good at playing mind games, becoming known for goading his opponents into throwing the wrong punches and steps with feints. His experience with Floyd Mayweather's masterful dodging and counterpunching directly influenced him to become one of the most methodical fighters in boxing currently. This was noted by Joe Rogan in a clip that's been resurfacing lately, in anticipation of the fight. He embodies a unique evolution of the famous Mexican-style boxing that has left some of his opponents reeling from serious beatings. This came out in full glory as he methodically beat down Gennady Golovkin with well-placed power shots in their super middleweight rematch fight in September 2018. Golovkin was always highly regarded for his aggressive pressure style of fighting that he loved to set up with strong jabs. Despite that, Canelo weaved and maneuvered out of his hard-hitting attacks and threw devastating counterpunches that went through Golovkin's defenses. While it was a closely fought fight, the look of weariness and devastation was seen on Golovkin's face at first, while Canelo seemed to remain confident all the way to the end. On the other hand, we can never forget about the savage hook he threw at Billy Joe Saunders in May 2021 that shattered his orbital bone. It was one of the most brutal finishers in any fight in recent memory, and it solidified Canelo as a fighter to really be feared. The precision with which it was achieved was gnarly, and a reminder. A reminder that just because Canelo practices a much less aggressive variation of the Mexican style, unlike Julio Cesar Chavez, it doesn't mean that he'll stop himself from destroying you completely. In fact, trying to empower him with brute force is probably the fastest way down to the canvas. Look, Mexican style is counterpunching, scoring combinations and finishing with hooks. Canelo's trainer Reynoso explains his way of fighting. You have to be technical. I believe the Mexican school of boxing is the most complete out there because it teaches you defensive and offensive tactics. Indeed, Canelo has been widely praised for his defensive skills ever since his victory against Miguel Cotto in 2015, which saw him being crowned the WBC middleweight champion. Without this strong defense, he couldn't have become the feared counterpuncher and an expert player of the mental game. Now, Canelo's fresh off his defeat last year at the hands of Dimitri Bivol, who fights much like he does. His venture into a heavier weight class ended in tatters. Despite the tall order presented ahead of him with moving up weight classes, the loss was a heartbreaking one. It was the first defeat he experienced in a long time. Yet, it still supported the truth. Canelo was no joke, even if he had less experience in the weight class. And knowing how he carries himself, he wouldn't let this loss brush away his fighting spirit. You also have to look at the circumstances in which I lost. Moving up in weight and trying to continue making history, he said, reaffirming his determination to continue to remain one of the best in this era, he declared. You have to see how you lost and also accept it and take it like a man and move on. It doesn't stop there. With that mindset, he's been studying Jermell Charlo like a commander studying the enemy before a battle. Despite remaining confident and even threatening Charlo that he would find out, he has nonetheless praised him, even purportedly figuring out what his weapons for the coming fight are going to be. In a recent interview, he said, his biggest weapon is everything. He can hit, he can take a punch, he can move too, and he's tall. I think he has everything. But I'm used to fighting every style, and I'm ready. He does respect his opponent, as he's known for good sportsmanship, apart from that one pre-fight incident with Caleb Plant. Do you notice something in his comment, though? Note the description describing an all-rounder. It means Jermell Charlo is shaping up to be a perfect match for him to fight. Since they seem to be so alike, Charlo may not be as well known as Canelo. He could be the biggest challenge he's ever had to tackle. Let's see exactly why Jermell Charlo is pure champion material. Jermell Charlo's chance to usurp the king. Already known as the Iron Man, Jermell Charlo is shaping up to be one of the most well-rounded boxers, currently right alongside his identical twin, Jermall Charlo, fighting from lighter weight classes. Both brothers have tasted the bliss of being champions before, and just like Canelo, both have been fighting since their teenage years. In 2016, both fought on the same card, and both walked away with the light middleweight world title, becoming the first twins to achieve this feat. Jermall was already an IBF light middleweight champion and defended against Austin Trout, while Jermell knocked out John Jackson to capture the WBC title in the same weight class. He went on to defend his title twice the next year from Charles Hatley and Erickson Lubin. In both matches, he sent his opponents to the canvas with powerful uppercuts and hooks. Erickson Lubin received a particularly nasty beating from Charlo, with the right uppercut in the first round proving to be so brutal that the referee decided it was best to just end it there. To round it out further, Lubin had an undefeated record. Even though he went on a slow path to becoming a title contender again after that, his whole world was turned upside down by Jermell Charlo's menacing combinations. Charles Hatley only fared slightly better in his fight against Charlo. It was too much for him. And two well-placed brutal shots to Hatley's temple and chin sealed Charlo as the king of the hill in his division. The sheer force of the punch that sent Hatley face first into the canvas made the audience gasp. "The Charlos don't play," Jermell asserted after the match. "This is what my life has always been like. The Charlos have strength and power, and that's what makes us who we are. My whole family and team are here, and we're doing our thing." And with the power of family, both Charlo brothers have more than enough motivation to lay waste to anyone in their path. Leaving behind a powerful family legacy has also done enough to propel Jermell Charlo to move up 2 weight class divisions to take on Canelo and cause an upset. I want my kids to be able to say, "My dad was able to do something no boxer has ever done. That was to move up 2 weight divisions, to become undisputed in 2 weight divisions," he said. He stands slightly taller than Canelo, and pictures of him from training reveal an increasingly muscular physique. This adds further elements to an already ironclad confidence in conquering whatever he sets his mind to. Now, about his fighting style. Here's why he might just be the most challenging opponent Canelo will be facing in the weight class he owns. Canelo himself has quoted, now quote, "His biggest weapon is everything." He's one of the most exciting and capable all-rounders in recent years. Jermell will draw out a fight as long as he needs to with his slick, light-on-the-feet style of movement and then exploit openings for hard attacks. Much like Canelo himself, he meticulously works his way up to setting up angles for those devastating hooks and uppercuts that he used to dismantle both Hatley and Lubin. This also carried him to a victory against the formidable Argentinian boxer Brian Castano on May 14, 2022. But he can switch this up easily as the situation demands, and if it becomes advantageous to do so. Embodying his Iron Man reputation, he's capable of switching to a close-range fighting approach that is highly aggressive. In this mode, he fights much like the legendary Mike Tyson is known for fighting. He brings this out when he has already ground his opponent down to bits, and yet only if he feels it's necessary for him to do so. A meticulous approach like that doesn't let him use energy if he doesn't absolutely need to in the moment, or in the interest of advancing his game plan. Another visible weapon among his fighting skill set is his ability to effectively counterpunch and throw the opponent off. As soon as Charlo feels something touch his tight guard, he brings out a strong counterpunching hook or uppercut to stop an attack dead in its tracks. He used one of these against John Jackson a long time ago when he was fighting for his first light middleweight title. The blow had John Jackson reeling from its force and sheer unexpectedness. Admittedly, his counterpunches are not as hard as Canelo's. If someone can directly damage the skull with a single counter punch, then that someone's in a different league altogether. The stakes. Jermell Charlo is currently out to cement his legacy as long-reigning champion. Family pride and a warrior-like motivation carry him forward in his bid to take Canelo Alvarez down. Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, ball at a heavier weight class, while also continuing his king who must fight to defend his throne from a usurper. Both men are not only equally hungry for glory, but both have only known boxing to be the thing they're the best at ever since they were teenagers. Both fighters exhibit very similar fighting styles and are known for having high fight IQs. For Canelo, the stakes have never been high, and this is as good as a time as any to be a fan of boxing. The fight will be a historic one, no matter who comes out on top. Its outcome will have an outsized impact on the careers of both men. Let us know in the comments who you're rooting for. Leave us a like and subscribe if you agree with our assessment on both fighters. We'll see you again when the dust settles on the canvas.